All right, we're back with another episode of the Risk Takers Only Podcast, Season 2, Episode 6. I got a special host today, guys. I got a special host today and a special episode for you guys. First off, I want you to meet my man Ryan of One Source Marketing and Branding. He's the one behind the scenes, him and his lovely wife, Jenna, and they've been, all the content you guys see, this is the brains behind the work. And so we decided we're going to collab together. We're going to give you guys some fire. We're going to give you guys some motivation, some actionable tips, again, on your journey towards financial freedom. Ryan, if you can, just introduce yourself a little bit. Tell them a little bit about you.
Yeah, so...
for those who don't know.
Yeah, my name's Ryan. It's odd being on this side of the camera, but this is going to be fun, man, so I appreciate it. So we, my wife and I own One Source X and a few other businesses, but we basically specialize in the digital marketing side, work with a lot of businesses.
I said One Source Marketing is One Source X, okay?
That's all right. We rebranded.
All right.
So it's
One Source X, baby. All
it's
right.
new. It's new. So but focusing on website content, social media ads, lead generation, you name it, we pretty much do it, man.
We got a great episode planned. I think, just funny story, when I was looking for a marketing company. This is how I met Ryan. So I was looking for a company. I already had someone that was doing my content, and it wasn't, all that I paid up and signed up for. And so I'm online and I'm looking for people that are local I can put my hands on. And I look up online and I see the Jedi. It's like the Star Wars.
Yeah, the digital Jedi.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, these guys really do it. And I start saying, let me see what type of content they have out. And I went on Ryan's page and I'm like, okay, he got YouTube content. Everything that I was looking to do, he had already done. And so if you guys haven't already, I want you to go ahead. Ryan's going to drop the link. Check out his page. Check out One Source X. If you guys have not, get your content going, get your marketing, your branding, all of that. They handle it all. Handle my company here at MZM Transports. Also, they handle my company at TNT Rentals as well. And, awesome. And so, guys, we got a special episode today. We are going to be talking about the challenges faced as an entrepreneur. We're talking about the challenges, the realities of entrepreneur that when you see everyone post, including myself, you don't really get a chance to see what really goes on behind the scenes. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Can we talk a little bit about that today?
Absolutely. And I think we should, because I think social media gives the good side.
Glorifies it a little bit.
Glorifies, makes it seem really simple.
Yep.
But I think bringing light to what happens in the work on the back end is good, especially for those looking to get into it, because it sets a realistic expectation. So that way they don't feel alone or feel like they're doing something wrong, and just realize it's part of the journey that all entrepreneurs go through.
It's part of the journey. So if you guys haven't already, grab a pen, you know what I'm going to say, grab a pen, something to write with, start taking some notes, because we're about to start giving you some knowledge, some game, some gems here, okay? Real quick, guys, also, if you have not already, please drop a comment, a like, follow the Risk Takers Only Podcast. We put out, one podcast a month and an assortment of other content for you guys, again, to help you guys get closer to your goal for financial freedom. And so, again, like it, comment, subscribe, whatever you guys got to do so I can get this knowledge to you guys, all right?
Can I say something about your podcast, too, that I just want to make sure I say? Mike does not gatekeep. He does not gatekeep. So you don't have to worry about watching the video and then, get it dangled in front of you, but then not get the steps and have to wait to, buy some course in order to get the answer. Your content, man, you really give step by step by step. So I really just applaud you for that. And so definitely check out those videos and the content so far, because the value there is just on a whole nother level. So man, applaud you on that. So make sure you guys check all of the content out, because it's there, the nuggets. You don't have to worry about it. You can watch it, get the value, the plan, and enough to actually go and execute, which is amazing.
I try. Listen, the whole goal for this is to motivate you guys, give you guys actionable steps. I'm not selling the course. We don't have a coaching program yet, because I'm getting a lot of people that's asking, but we don't have a coaching program just yet. But my goal, again, is just give you guys the tools. At the end of the day, these tools and my strategies and everything, they work for me. Something's going to work for you. You're going to have to do your own business, your own type of way. But again, we're just here to give out the knowledge, the game, and have you guys succeed. So, real quick, now just starting off, we want to talk to you guys a little bit about the challenges, because a lot of times, entrepreneurship is glorified. And you do reap a huge benefit out of being an entrepreneur, but no one really talks about, the the trials, the tribulations, the blood, the sweat, the tears. No one really talks about that. And so I want to start off by talking a little bit about decisions that I guess we had to make in our business that really, impacted the business, let's just say.
Yeah. I mean, it's always about overcoming objections and making tough decisions. So, man, in our journey, we've had to go through quite a bit. Probably the most drastic was actually kind of recently. Okay. I think the lesson we learned is you have to make business decisions, and a lot of times they're hard. Mm-hmm. So making sure that you're making the right decision for the business is very important. You want to take care of people. Obviously, you want to take care of everybody, but you also have to make those decisions that are right for the business. So for us, especially in the digital age, everything's been changing so much. Mm-hmm. But recently, we had to make a pretty drastic decision. We basically had to kind of restructure our entire team, which was definitely a big decision and a hard decision.
When you say restructure.
Yeah, so there's really no other way to say it. We basically had to cut people that have been with us for a long time, and definitely people that added value and helped us build the business. But over the past 2 years, we've really been trying to dial in. So I feel like, and I think you can definitely tap on this, but yeah. I think there's a difference in like creating a business that you just want to maintain, and then trying to build a business that you want to be big or scale. It comes with two different decisions.
Take the emotions out of it.
Yeah, and it definitely requires that. And there's a lot of what I call pivoting, right? Constantly adjusting, constantly trying to look at your systems and processes. And so we've definitely made a lot of big changes in the past 2 years that have been tough. But when I say restructure the team, man, we basically had to evaluate the players on our team and, really see, are these the right people that are ready and can handle the pressure of what's required of where we're trying to go? Mm-hmm. And, we came to the conclusion that we felt like maybe not. I feel like there's people that can help you.
How long did it take you to make that decision?
Whew. It took a long time to realize that was a decision that we needed to make, I think, probably like a year.
And then just for the viewers to help them learn, why did it take you that long to make that decision?
So we realized in us trying to grow and scale our business, there's certain levels that you hit. It's almost like you reach capacity, right? And that's when you hit a certain level in any business and it starts to expose your operations, right? So typically the first thing you go to is systems and processes. How can we get to this next level? Every time we feel like we hit a ceiling, things start to kind of buckle. So then that's where we really pay attention and go, all right, what needs to be corrected? We kind of take that as the lesson. So systems and processes is the first thing we go to. Mm-hmm. So we really worked on trying to streamline that and develop those systems and processes. And then we're like, all right, let's go again. And then we hit the same ceiling, same cap, things start to buckle. So then you have to really start evaluating everything and go, all right, why is this happening? So then obviously you have to look, it's just like a team in sports, right? If you make it to the playoffs every year, but you aren't getting to the championship.
Someone got to go. Some trades got to.
Eventually, that's what
Has to give. Coaching changes and all.
You may go a 2 or 3 seasons and just adjust your plays or your strategy, but eventually you got to address the players or the coach or whatever it is. And that's kind of what we hit, where it was like, we really feel like we need a different mentality and a different group of people. And so the decision took about a year to realize, but then once we realized it, it happened pretty quickly. But we also act very quickly on decisions, which I think is important. Mm-hmm. I try to act as quickly as possible, especially when it comes to decision making or overcoming an obstacle. I feel like the longer you sit on it, the weaker things can get, and so
we dragging out.
Yeah, we kind of go by like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. Like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, make a decision. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, do it. Whatever the case may be. And
so let me ask you this: now that you made that change already, right? And so now, how is the team functioning now? And how long has it been since you made the change? It's
been about 2 months now. We just hit the 2-month mark.
Okay.
So we obviously did this with a strategy, right? We knew, okay, if we're doing this is a big move, you can't just blindly make a decision like that. So we kind of painted a 90-day roadmap of what we knew we had to attack. what we knew we were going to have to do. Obviously, it's increased workload on everybody that's still with us as well as us. We got to pick up areas that we aren't used to doing. So 2 months in, and you know, at the end of the day, man, I mean, it was a great decision, and it's definitely impacted the business. But I also think what helped is there's fewer hands in the pot now, which I think when you're really trying to maneuver a lot and create a lot of different systems and processes, easier to navigate and implement new systems and new ways of operating without, you know, having to manage so many people and get so many different people on board with it. It's easier when there's just a few. And so that definitely, you know, it was the right move. It was the hardest. I will say this. It was the most difficult thing and the most difficult decision we ever made. And as you know, there's always obstacles.
Now, when you say difficult, what was difficult about the decision? Because I'm thinking, hey, you just let someone go, you know, increase, you know, production increase, you know, save a little bit of money on the payroll.
Yeah. I'm an emotional person, man. There's just no way around it. It's just, and it's, you know, probably in a lot of ways, I think a weakness, especially in business. I think, you know, I care about people. And then obviously in business, you know, you have people that help you build to a certain level. And then when that relationship changes, or whether it's a business partner or whatever, you know, it's always tough. And we are very emotional people. I mean, we get really attached and connected to people. That's one thing we always have focused on too, is building a culture. Mm-hmm. And with that, you open up, when you're focused on company culture, you really open up the door for that relationship and that bond. So being able to navigate through that and say, okay, this is nothing personal. You know, this is nothing to do with our relationship or how we feel about a person individually. This is a decision for the business, because the business has to get to the next level. That was the hardest part, was just detaching from that emotion to say, we have to care about the health of the company and where we want to go. So, but those things are always tough.
Yeah, you know, I'm asking because I'm the same way, you know, which I always joke around in the office, and I tell everyone, you know, I'm not a good manager.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not, if I'm here too often, I start to get attached, and I know my team personally. We got a small team too. Our team is about 10 agents. But I start to get to know them personally, to the fact is, like, it's hard to, even enforce the rules. Something simple as a cell phone rule. You know, I know them personally. So it's like, hey, put up your cell phone, you know, or they get a write-up. You know, we have a certain policy and procedure, disciplinary procedure that we go through if they have their cell phones out. And again, you know, just knowing them personally is hard. So I know that was a tough decision.
It's tough.
But the decision, you said, it impacted the business in a positive way.
In a positive way.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely in a positive way. And then we too tried to do that was final step for us, which I think is always good to, you know, is try to make sure that everything else is right and it's not something else. I mean, when you make a decision like that, you have to know this is what I need to do. So we really worked on everything else first. Real quick,
because I got a personal story I'm going to tell too, but real quick, I want you to tell a little bit about one of the decision makers you had. I got to pull it out. I know
pull
the
it
story,
out.
right? I got to pull it out though.
Listen, I'm a huge advocate and embrace AI. So I just do, man. I know it scares a lot of people, but I use AI for everything. And I look at, you know, my AI as a consultant, as a mentor, as guidance, because the way I look at it is there's no human connection or emotion in that, right? So it's not going to give you a clouded response. Yeah. I mean, it's coming, you know, it's AI, right?
Go by the facts.
Yeah, there's no heart in that, you know? So I did, man. And I do that with a lot of decisions. I consult AI. I utilize ChatGPT 4. Obviously, through using it for a long time, it's, you know, the model's trained and understands a lot of what I do and how I do different things. So I have different layers of chats that I use for different personal things or business things. So, you know, through that, it's been very familiar and it's learned a lot about my business. And so I did, though. I basically painted it out. A lot of this too comes back, which I think is important probably to say, you know, we do own another business and we put a leader in a role there, and we put certain team members in that business, and I saw things really working. I saw, you know, leadership and team camaraderie build without us having to be the middle point. So that's important for me to say. So I was also comparing the two. Like, okay, why is it working really well over here and it's not working here? Why is this business excelling really fast with minimal involvement from us? And then this business, it can't seem to get away from us to allow us to focus on that. So anyway, I put all of that into the AI. I explained our other business. I explained. I think
that's still crazy.
It is. And I showed you.
Yeah.
The prompt.
He taught me how to use it, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm still scratching the surface, but.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I told it how I feel, what we've been dealing with, what the decision that I was thinking about was, and basically told it to, evaluate my decision and was it the right thing? And it basically said, yeah, it is. What's funny, though, is it also warned me, like this is the decision to make, but understand, take this into factor, this into factor, this into factor. And then I responded to it. I said, considering all of this, if I just needed a do it or don't do it answer, what would you say? And it said, do it. And that was 24 hours later. I made the decision, went in the office and did
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and so that's key too, because I've been there before too. I've held on to agents. Clearly can perform and do the job task, but for me, I've had agents that just weren't good for the culture. Long story short, you just get an emotional attachment. You get to know them personally. We have hearts too, even though we're the owners of the company and we're here to make money. We have hearts too. So yeah. I've kept people longer than expected, let's just say, and overly paid people. And so I've been there before. And I'm trying to think, what has been, the most impactful, I guess, decision that I've had to make in my business, because I've made a lot. One of the things that keeps coming to mind is partnerships. So I've had a best friend, and he's still a best friend. I don't really talk to him as much. You can tell where the story is going.
Yeah.
But I had a best friend that was a partner of mine on a company before. And, we started out, it was a financial coaching company. It was like Dave Ramsey on steroids. We would help people get out of debt, help them repair their credit. And I was the one I came from that industry. We talk about the Wolf on Wall Street. This industry was just like that. And I was one of the top sales agents on the phone. And so I saved my money up. I opened up a small call center. I had some agents from the other call center that I used to work at. They came and followed me, and I had that office together. And one of the things that I tell you guys, I brought in a partner, which was my friend, my best friend. And the thing is that I gave him 50% of the company. And I want you guys to know real quick though, anytime you have a partner, if you do have a partner, partners are not all bad, but if you do have a partner, you do not need to give them 50% of the company. And that's the first step where I went wrong at. But I gave him 50% of the company. And like I said, to gauge this, when I say giving them 50%, nothing is wrong with 50%, but what is the value that they're bringing back? Is it money? Is it skill? Is it time? And so exchange for my 50%, I didn't get any skill. I didn't get any money. I just got a good friend that I knew I can trust. And for the longest, that has been, I guess my Achilles heel when it comes to business. I would go with who I trust versus the talent. And, you always hear people coming in, stealing your ideas, your customers. And I've had some people do that. I've had a partner do that before. And so, I was a little scarred. And so that's why, on this partner, it was the second partner before. And so on this partner, I said, I'm going to go with my best friend. And, I went with him. Again, no skill and no money being added to the business, but it was just the time. And even the time that he was able to add to the business wasn't enough. I was in there doing sales. Even when we need, the agents on the floor weren't getting the sales and producing, I would get on the phones and produce the sales. And then again, the feeling of having to give someone half, and if you were to be put in a deathbed or even in a hospital, would this business run without you?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And if you switch everything around, vice versa, and let's just say the partner's in the hospital, will the business still run without you? Run without him? Yes. And so that was, it went on for probably about 2 years, 2.5 years, probably plus. And, I'm good at bottling my emotions up. That's something I got to learn, I'm working on, because I always tell everyone it's either going to be really nice, nice Mike, or we're going to get there, and I bottled it up for a long time to eventually, I had to go to him. I had to have a conversation with him, and we gave him a severance package, and a pretty good severance package, and ended up, taking the business on a new levels myself, just because I was my mindset. It wasn't even that I had more time. I was actually busier now because he was gone. But the main thing was that I was really focused and zoned in because, one, I'm like, okay, if I leave, if I vote him out and get him out of here, I got to make sure this company succeeds now for sure. And then it was just like, hey, I know the work that I do comes back to me and my household and my family. And like I said, it just increased my skill set. And that one thing, the reason why I really impacted the business wasn't, it helped the business out with him being away. But what it really opened my eyes to is, you need to get out your comfort zone and stop, working with people that you just trust and hiring people that you just trust. Because I had a history. I would hire my brother, my sister, my brother and sisters work for me. I've had other people's brother and sister, cousins, referrals. I would always take the people that I feel like, hey, I can trust, or it came from a trusted source, instead of just going out and finding the talent.
Yeah.
And even now, in what we're doing right now in the transportation logistics company, my brokerage, we just hired a gentleman, a young guy. He's in admin training right now. I know he's going to probably watch this, so he's training as an admin, and he's preparing to move up as manager. Normally, I would not hire a manager and basically build from the top down. But I would normally build from the bottom up, and I'll hire some guys, and I'll let them start off entry level, and then I would promote within. And we still believe in promoting within, but the main thing is that I'm no longer looking to get comfortable with who I'm hiring. I want to get a little bit uncomfortable. I needed someone that is smarter than me, that's going to come in with more knowledge than me, someone that I don't necessarily naturally trust right off the bat because, we're just hiring him, my first time meeting him. But, because, again, learning what I've learned with my partner and past partners, it's you have to get out of your comfort zone. And that was the main thing that really impacted our business, getting out of our comfort zone, making sure I bring in people that may not necessarily be people that I know or 100% trust, but as we build trust and we build the culture in the company, it's taking the company to new levels. So
yeah, it's that emotion thing too. It's back to what you went through, and it's what I'm learning more and more, and I've definitely gotten more familiar with it. Is you really can't make emotion-based decisions. 100%. They never pay off. 100%. Anytime, because stories of the partnership, we've dealt with that before. And then you always hear, too, never get into business with friends. There's so many things when you have emotion connected that it just seems like it pays off a lot less frequent than it does winning. So
they always say there's a saying. I don't remember the exact saying, but it's more so like instead of dealing with the business as from an emotional perspective, you deal with it from a numbers perspective.
Yeah.
And I started, that's a lot of times how I analyze my business. If you go on my computer, I have spreadsheets for everything, KPIs for everything. In the transportation world, we book loads. There are certain loads that we may book for a customer, and the load may not be available. We track that. Why? Because I want to know the loads that they are booking. Even though it's not available, I need to know the lanes and the areas that I should be, targeting. We track the production on each agent from their call volume, their conversion rate, the revenue, talk time, average talk time. We track everything. And again, now, I'm learning even now, like I joked around and said, I'm not a good manager. I try to remove myself and put people in the management position. So I work on the business. I, again, work on the business, not in the business. I work on the business. And the way I do that is all through numbers, and so I'm removing myself from having to make an emotional decision, because, again, I'm far from it. Now, again, you guys starting out, it's going to be a little bit harder because you're building your business from scratch, right? And so you're going to be very much attached to your agents. I'm very much attached to the guys in the office. But, again, the decision that's made, we literally have agents in the Philippines that they have to report to rather than talk to me about stuff. And again, because I'm so attached, I want to remove that emotion from things. The only thing I want to do is I want to be able to come in when my team is doing good, hype them up. So I want to switch it up real quick, Ryan. I want to talk a little bit about the biggest risk that we've taken in our business and just the mindset behind the decisions.
Yeah, you going to go first?
You want to do rock, paper, shoot?
You want to do rock, paper? All right, ready?
Rock, paper, shoot.
Ooh.
What is that?
Paper.
That was
paper. I never seen. How you do paper like that?
Yeah. Like
you know
that.
what I should have?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I thought.
Oh man,
like
I threw it. You
want
to redo?
Something. Yeah. Let's rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Woo! Oh, you got me.
Paper right there.
You got me.
Okay. So I got one, man, and this one's a big one for me. So one of the biggest decisions that I've made, I shut down my wholesaling and real estate company, or fix and flip company. I used to wholesale and fix and flip houses. For those of you who do not know, wholesaling real estate, basically, you're selling the paper. You get a seller that wants to sell their property. You have to get at a discount. You put that property under contract. You take that contract and you assign the rights to your contract to an end buyer, which is the person who's going to buy that house. And then there's usually a middleman fee in exchange. And so again, if Ryan, you have a house, the house is, you're selling it to me for $200,000. I get it under contract for $200,000. I take that contract to, let's just say, buyer A. Buyer A says, okay, I want to give you $250,000 for that house. So I exchange my contract rights, which are at $200K, to the buyer. The buyer buys it for $250,000, so he's going to have a contract, to assign it to me, or I'm going to assign it to him. And that $50,000 wedge goes to me. The seller gets the $200,000. The buyer gets the property. And so we were doing very well in that. Firestone National Investment Group, we still have the company. We still do some real estate, but we do more, development and rentals right now. But we're really good at it. And that was a really great business model because we didn't have to put any money up to purchase the homes. And so, I've done that for about 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. And, I started doing wholesaling. And from that point on, I would lock up very good deals at deep discounts, under market value. And so it's like a no-brainer. It's like, why don't you just keep the deal? And so we started to keep the deal, and we started to fix the property up, and we started to sell the property. And man, we were going on a run. We had runs where we were doing 100K, triple digit flips is what we used to call it. Triple digit flips. And these flips, when you say triple digits, the work wasn't hard because we would find good deals. We would find property owners in distress that just need to move for whatever reason. And so, again, that decision was one of the biggest decisions I had to make because I had to shut down that company. I didn't have to, but I shut down that company. And you're wondering why. It's like, okay, you just said you're doing good wholesaling. You're doing good fixing, flipping houses. And so what happened was, my wife at the time, we had our freight brokerage. This is back when we first got started. And so if you guys know, you've heard this story before, when I opened up the freight brokerage, it wasn't for me. It wasn't like, I'm like, yeah, we're going to make a lot of money. It was like, okay, my wife needs something to do now. She wants to do something. She doesn't need to do. She wanted to do something. The kids are going back in school. And we were like, no, she's not working anywhere. We don't have time for that. There's still gymnastics, school pickups. She still likes to attend, the field trips and different things like that, get her nails and hair done. It was like we needed something for her to do, but she can own and control. So, we were thinking about the options of a real estate agent. We're like, no, we're not chasing listings. No, negative. Then we started thinking about trucking. And when we thinking about trucking, we were talking about owning 3 semis, and what she was going to do is learn dispatching and then eventually hire it out and then just manage the trucks. And, it's funny is when I met my mentor that coaches us now, specifically in the freight brokerage, that's when we got introduced to the brokerage world, and then that's how we got started in the brokerage. And so, again, we started, the brokerage not because we were like, hey, we were going to want to do it. It was just something for her to do and make some good money, right? And so, time is going on, and let's just say we're about a quarter in, and she's just bringing in checks. And if you guys want to know the checks, she's bringing in, she'll bring in like a $20,000 check, maybe a $30,000 check. And these are all cumulative because you get paid every week. So it's accumulating up for the month. So you're like $20,000, $30,000. And I'm looking and I'm like, man. And, in the wholesale and the fix and flip business, we had money tied up in properties. Some months we wouldn't close on our wholesale deals. So we're like, man, that $30K looks real good. And this is one of the things I want to tell you guys. The grass is not green on the other side, because I've always opened up businesses and I've looked at someone else and said, oh man, they're making a lot of money in their business. And I shut down this business to go over and do that. And I was getting accustomed to doing that. And so when I had the real estate company, I created a huge brand behind that. You know, if you guys seen my content before, you're talking about Firestone National Investment Group. And so it was a big decision because I had a good brand out and we were rolling. But the backing behind the decision was that I saw an industry and I'm like, it's untapped. Everyone at the time was wholesaling. That was like the new favorite thing. Everyone was wholesaling. Fix and flips, I don't want to say anything's oversaturated, because if you're good at what you do and you just have a good service and a good product and you know how to build your team and you know how to build a business, it doesn't matter. But, you know, it was just like, you know, I saw something, like it was like a twinkle in my eye. I'm like, one, she's bringing in these fucking checks and I'm not even helping her.
yeah, she's doing it on her own.
She's doing it all on her own. Mind you, we got set up some agents in the Philippines. Again, we've been in business before. She's helped me start business before. So she knows a little bit about what she's doing. But she still is like doing stuff with the kids. You know, she's still making lunches and stuff, like really nice lunches. I'm like, babe, you don't get them some school lunch. She's making them nice lunches and everything. And so I'm like, man, okay, that's the type of potential money you can make. And obviously my mentor is telling me that. But again, you got to believe it. You got to see it.
Yeah.
And so I'm seeing it, and I just started to see the vision. I saw an industry that was, and this is the come behind the decision making of this. I saw an industry that was, I don't want to say untapped, because the freight brokerage industry is huge. The transportation industry is huge. But the main thing for me is I'm like, man, you know, this is another industry where I don't have to own the assets. Meaning I don't have to own the truck, because I come from an industry that I have to put my money up for the properties, specifically when I was fix and flipping. So my money was always tied to a deal. Versus in this industry, you know, I am essentially working, I'm the middleman. I'm working with the shipper and I'm working with the carrier. The carrier, they have the truck. If the truck breaks down, that's on them.
That's on them. Yeah.
You know, I feel bad, but that's on them. And I get a chance to find another truck. And at the end of the day, it's a needed industry. What I was doing with wholesaling, and no knock to wholesaling, there is need in the industry. Like you said, if you have a distressed property owner who needs to sell immediate and needs that cash fast, you know, you can give them the cash fast. If the property is so beat up that they can't really list it and it has to go to a cash buyer, boom, that's when you need it. I had a guy in the army that had to sell his property because he had to go. He didn't have time to list it. He didn't have time to shop it around. I think he was going on a tour, and he had to go, and he had to sell it immediately. And he was okay with the price, you know. Yeah. And so there is a need for it. But as a whole, when I'm looking at, okay, again, and this is something that I want you guys to learn, your value in the marketplace is going to dictate how much money you make.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, you always hear people say, hey, you solve rich people problems, you get paid rich people money. And you solve wealthy people problems, you get paid wealthy people money. And so at the biggest point, you know, I'm thinking of, okay, shippers and manufacturers of all our most common goods, right? At the point in time, I was thinking about toilet tissue, because it was during COVID time.
Oh, yeah.
It was during COVID time.
Yeah.
And the trucks were the only thing that was moving.
Gold.
So I'm like, this is $1 trillion industry. No matter if it's, you know, a pandemic going on, the drivers, the brokers, the shippers and manufacturers of the proper goods, really the drivers and the brokers, they're still making money. So I'm like, this is an industry that's going to last through a pandemic. It's a cash flowing industry, because we move probably 60 to 70 loads a week. 60 to 70 loads a week, and we're not even scratching the surface. And so you're talking about multiple loads. You know, usually when you're flipping a house, I may have 2 house flips scheduled for the month. That's $100,000. Yeah. But if one of them falls through, that's half the freaking revenue. Versus if I'm moving 70 loads, one of them falls through, 2, 3, 4 fall through. It's continuous. It's continuous.
Plus, the loads have to move no matter what.
They got to move.
Where housing, the market can be up or down.
You hit it right on the head. Yeah. Housing, you can sit and you say, I'm going to rent. Right now, they just announced right now, it's cheaper to rent.
Yeah.
If you're buying a house now, if you bought your house in the past,
crazy.
You're dancing right now. But if you're looking for a house now, they're saying it's cheaper to rent in certain areas.
Yeah, that's
And so, you know, just that decision alone to shut down the wholesaling company, shut down the fix and flip company, and go all in on the brokerage and just partner with my wife was a huge decision. And yes, hell yeah, we made less money in the beginning. For the first year, you know, or two, like honestly, the first 2 years, we didn't make what I would have made wholesaling and fixing and flipping houses. But circle now, you know, we're trending year after year. We've been 100% up, meaning we doubled our revenue year after year. And right now, I think we're currently like 37% up from where we're at last year. I'm still on point. We're still going to double the revenue. We got some things in the mix, but
That first 2-year mark you're talking about too, though, I feel like is important. I feel like that's why most, like, I won't say most, but like, let's look at it statistically, right? 85%, I think it's 85 or 86% of people that start a business fail in the first year.
Yep.
But I think it's just because that first 1, 2, even maybe 3 years, really, no matter what you're doing, you're going to go through the mud.
Yep.
And so I feel like, too, people need to understand that, right? Like, you've got to be ready. And I think so many people think, oh, I could just go start a business and then the money's just going to come flowing in. And that's not the case. You typically, in most cases, got to take a step back like you did, right? You took a step back, went through the mud. I can only imagine the stories you probably have from that first 1 or 2 years and be able to grind and persist through that to hang in there to now get it to where you have it. I feel like a lot of people, they miss that part.
They look over it.
Yeah.
We were just talking, me and my wife was comparing it to, you see a boxing match, right?
Yeah.
But not just a regular boxing match that you see in real life reality. You're talking about a boxing match that you see on like TV, like Sylvester Stallone and Rocky, or Creed.
Yeah.
And what happens? They always get their ass beat, from the first few rounds. And in that last round, they're like, we won the championship. And they're like all beat up and bloody. And it's like, that's exactly what it is.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, would you rather be beat up and bloody and winning the championship, everyone loving you, knowing your name, you just got a bonus, you provide for your family, you have the financial stability, like all of that, is it worth it? That's the question you have to ask yourself, right?
Yep. That's why I love what we're talking about, though, too, and that's why I said in the beginning, man, and I think it's important for people, especially if they want to start a business or just started a business, to hear that. Right, because you don't hear it much. You just see the people got the Lambos or whatever, but it's like
the Rollies,
but it's like
Rollies, all that. Yep.
I want to know what you've been through, so that way when I'm going through it, I know this is part of the process. That's the biggest thing that's helped her and I, is I study the people that I admire so much. I've consumed Elon's story or Walt Disney's story or Steve Jobs' story, and then when we went through it, I was already like, no, this is supposed to happen. Like, I trust me, they went through it. Like, I can't skip this. Yep. Like the greats, everybody has to go through this. But that's what kind of kept us focused to say, it's all right. Like, it's going to be all right. This is part of the process. That's what I always say. This is part of the process. And I think people need to, understand that and hear that from people so that they understand, all right, this isn't going to be easy the first few years. It never really gets easy. It gets easier.
Yep.
But I think that's important, because that's the key, is that beginning phase, man. It's rough.
You meet a lot of entrepreneurs and you see the smile on their face, and that's part of the job, that's part of the job, I told you before, and Ryan, don't let me forget, because I got to hear your story too.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's part of the job, because, I have times where my merchant account, when we accept credit card processing, and, the credit card machine, which is the merchant, in order for us to take clients' payments, this is back when I had the financial coaching firm.
Yeah.
And in order for us to be able to take payments, that merchant account basically locked up on us. It froze. And so it didn't just stop us from getting new business. It had money in there from current business. I think we had like a 48 or 72 hour like type payout.
Yep.
And I don't remember exactly. I think it was like sums a little bit under $100,000 or so that was locked up. Some of it was clients' money, some of it was our money, staff's money that we had to pay commissions, et cetera, out. And it locked up. And you talk about having to come in the next day knowing all the money. I had a couple $1,000 saved. All the money that I was banking on was in that drop.
Yep.
The merchant account's locked up, and they're not planning on releasing the money anytime soon until you provide every document and everything that they're asking for. Payroll's right around the corner. People are old, and I got to walk into the office with a smile on my face. I got to encourage. I got to motivate. I got to solve problems. Like nothing is happening, and that's the epitome, of entrepreneurship. You're talking about standing in a room and all hell's breaking loose. The room is on fire, the house is burning down, and you're just sitting there with a smile, drinking a cup of water. And that's literally what it is.
Man, I think that processing story is probably one of the most common things. There's not many, because again, we've worked with business owners of all sorts. I swear, every entrepreneur I can think of, or every close friend that I have, we all have that processing story where they lock it up. So that's something you might want to be ready for, because
watch out if you get a merchant account.
It's gonna happen possibly.
Plan accordingly,
Plan accordingly, because more than likely It will happen. And, you know, it's a process. They just typically want some verification, you know, or they want you to prove that you're legit and you're not just moving money. But during that process, it's a rough process to go through because they do lock the money up. But it's those types of things, right? You got, like you said, you got to come in, you got to smile, you got to still get up, and that's a hard thing to make it through, man. You know, that's a tough one to make it through, but that's just one of the few things that you have to be ready for and embrace for. But that processing story is so common.
Give me a story about you having to make a.
I would say we've had to make a lot of different risks.
I know you told me about the I guess the decision, but the risk that you had to make, maybe. I'm really interested in, again, like you have two businesses. You have the Rose Spa. And then you have One Source Marketing X.
Yeah, we had a few more, but you were topping on that earlier. The, what do they call it? The shiny object syndrome. Because, you know, you hear so much, multiple streams of revenue. And we got caught up in that, which that's a whole nother conversation. But we got caught up in that too. And, you know, we basically last year, I think it was, 2023 is when we started to shed a lot of that stuff and say, all right, let's focus on these. I still think because hearing your story, it makes me think of mine. The biggest risk was, you know, probably in the beginning, towards the beginning. So we got in at a very early stage when it comes to the digital marketing side. We got in at the right time, I guess you would say, because that's when Facebook had not yet launched ad platforms. Businesses were able to create a Facebook page, create social media, promote. It would go out to thousands of people. You know, it wasn't monetized, so it was very easy to reach. Jenna was an executive assistant, so she had a great job, security. I was doing government contracting remote, a government contract company. So basically what I was in charge of is I would recruit medical staff, physicians, physician assistants, nurses, and then I would place them in the hospitals or facilities across Air Force bases. So I spent 12 years in healthcare. But you talk about
healthcare and marketing and
So
hold on, did you go to school for any marketing, branding, ads?
No. So
hold on, y'all. This is right now. This is, you know, again, this is the industry right now. I want you to, before you get into it, how'd you like learn, I guess, the craft?
So I worked my way there. Yeah. So my big break was Coca-Cola. That really exposed me to that world. So I'm a 9th grade dropout. I dropped out of 9th grade, age of 15, and I went to work. And so I was working like 3 jobs. I did car stereos. I did car detailing. I worked at Subway. I worked at Captain D's. So I was always like that work ethic. Went through the whole temp agency. We had that conversation before, right? I was a temp agency. So I was getting the temp jobs, and then they would bring me on. And long story short, the temp agency placed me at Coca-Cola on the night shift building pallets. So what that is I would basically go to a machine. I would swipe my card. The ticket would come out, and that would be an order. So I would have to take the pallet and build the order for that store. Okay. And so I was doing that long shifts, long hours. And it took about 90 days, and they bought me out of the temp agency. So then they hired me on with Coca-Cola. I did another 3 months, and they moved me up. They promoted me to a merchandiser. So basically, that was kind of where I saw the opportunity because that was more the sales side. Yeah. So what I would do is if you were a sales rep for Coca-Cola, you have your stores, right? So you may have this Publix, this Winn-Dixie, and this Walmart. That would be your route. You're responsible as the sales manager to keep that store full, place the orders, sell the displays to the manager, make sure that Coca-Cola is the first thing they see, make sure your coolers are at the first checkout. Like, you're responsible for that entire flow of the store. The merchandiser, which is what I did, I would come in on your days off and just stock your shelves and let you know what your inventory was so you know what to order. So I went in there with a goal of like, all right, I want to go into these guys' stores and make their store better than they have it. So merchandiser, I would go in, I had my account managers that I worked for, and I would basically cover their stores when they're off. So I did that for 6 months, and then the store manager started asking for me. So then they promoted me into the sales and marketing side of Coca-Cola. So now I kind of stepped into the career. where I really started learning the marketing side, selling, branding. So like I got to be a part of a lot of cool projects like Coke Zero, for example. Like I helped roll that project out. And when the energy drinks first came out, like I'm dating myself here, but I helped roll those projects out. So I was learning a lot about marketing, branding, placements, sales and all of that. And long story short, I worked with Coca-Cola for about 10 years. So what they would do is they would put me on struggling routes or routes that were decreasing. And they would put me over those routes, right? And so that was kind of like my career specialty in the corporate world was always that. So they would put me in a route, I would fix it, get it healthy, and then they would move me. They moved me to Pensacola, Florida. There was one of the largest chains that they had. It was struggling. So they put me in there, I turned it around, and then I got recruited into healthcare recruiting.
Okay.
That followed the same path. My job was to find and recruit nurses all day.
You were on the phones all day.
All day long.
Yep.
All day long. And I did that for about a year. And then they promoted me to run my own office, which is what brought me to this area, Daytona.
Okay.
There was an office. It was they brought me on a trial phase. They were going to close the market. And they said, all right, we're going to put you on a 90-day stretch assignment. See if you can tell if there's a market here or if we need to close the office. So they put me up in an extended stay for 90 days.
Okay.
Sent me there, basically gave me 3 employees and said, see if there's a market. And I succeeded at that very well. We actually turned Daytona in one of the largest markets, one of the highest revenue grossing. And that's what taught me. That was probably the best career I had because that position with that company, when they
got exposed to a lot.
Yeah, and you run it all. You're in charge of the payroll for all of the nurses. You're in charge for the marketing. You're in charge of the staff, right? So I had, 200 nurses that worked under me, but I'm processing their payroll. I'm doing the numbers.
And not to interrupt, but that's the one thing that I always say too that I don't have. I don't want to say I wish I would have had it, but it would have been nice, especially for you guys who currently work a 9 to 5. Nothing's wrong with that. Especially if you're on the verge of starting, your career, your new business, your first business. A lot of the knowledge that you guys have saw from those big companies, you can transition it over.
For sure.
A lot of the training techniques, the CRMs, how the meetings are conducted. If you're in the financial department, how they manage the finances, et cetera. A lot of different, the marketing, the branding.
Yeah.
I've worked for outside of probably selling phones at Verizon Wireless, Denny, small jobs.
Yeah.
I've worked for one, I guess you would say, more so corporate company, coming from a temp agency. Again, it was a benefits enrollment center at my mom's job. And, I was just young that I really didn't focus on. I was there for not too long, but, again, just listening to you, if you are working at a job now and you're planning on exiting or you're planning on starting your new business and exiting eventually, make sure you're not just working for them. Soak up all the knowledge you can.
Yes.
Soak up all knowledge you can. Look at their processes, their policies, the procedures, the meetings, the trainings.
Yeah.
The trainings
all
are
of
so valuable.
So. All of it. How do they send quotes to their customers? How do they service their customers? What are the channels? Like, take advantage of that because you can learn so much, especially if it's with a larger company because obviously it's working.
Yep.
You get all the insight behind the scenes of the processes of a large corporation. You could take that anywhere. Yeah, and so back to the biggest risk, right? So
no. You were telling me, you were saying, so you did at Coca-Cola.
Yep.
And
then went into healthcare.
And then after healthcare.
Yep. Then I started kind of dabbling with entrepreneurship. That's when I started my first business, which was actually I started another business before that. My first real business I started was a clothing brand.
Okay.
And saw success there, and we started really getting a lot of hype. I had a store open in the mall. Mm-hmm. We were doing events out in California, and it crashed, completely crashed, lost everything due to a leasing deal with the mall. And I had tied up all of the revenue to build out this store.
I know how that feels.
Dude, we were I was so close to so many big deals, and it's still all over the internet. And long story short, they basically come to me and says, hey, Pandora Jewelry wants your space. And I'm like, what does that mean? They're like, well, you're in a month to month, so you either have to sign a 10-year lease or you have to move out of the store, because when a store in a mall wants to get a permanent location, it trumps the month to month. And I had just tied up every single dollar I had into this store like 3 or 4 months prior to. So it sunk me, absolutely sunk me, like to rock bottom. And then when Jen and I met, we almost brought that back. We almost brought the clothing line back. We started tampering with it a little bit. And then fast forwarding to like the biggest risk that we took at that time, I was then moved into a government contracting position, which was the sweetest gig ever, man, because I worked remote. They didn't ever want to see me in the office. I never had to go. The corporate office was in Maryland. I worked like 2 to 4 hours a day, making right at a 6-figure salary, full benefits. So yeah, I had a cush job, man. I was working as a recruiter. My only responsibility was to make sure that I was filling the positions. They didn't care anything else. That's all they wanted me for. So I didn't have to participate in meetings or any of that. It was the sweetest gig ever. Yeah. Got paid a ton of money, insurance, benefits, the whole nine, man. All of the good stuff that you would want out of a 9-to-5 job. And then when I started kind of seeing the opportunity, I was playing around with websites and stuff, because when my company started to go down, when I started to sink my first company.
Had to save some money on the website.
I did. I had to like let go of my marketing company. I had to let go of my website guy, and it forced me to learn. And I picked up into that stuff really quickly, and I loved it. Right. And so, anyway, I started dabbling some side projects here and there, building a website here and there. You know, we saw our first client, first job we got, and this goes into the biggest risk I took. I'm making a sweet salary. Comfortable. We have a comfortable living. Jenna's got a good job. We had this concept of this one source. So we're now talking about doing this. And our only goal with it, our vision was not big.
What does one source stand for, by the way?
One source, one spot, just one place. And that's funny because that concept came to me years prior. Okay. Because I was dealing with hiring this company for my social media, hiring this company for my website. And I had to order my marketing material from over here. And I always thought, like, man, like, what if there was one company that a business could get everything they need from, all marketing services, just in one channel? And then that's what kind of birthed one source. Okay. And so we started dabbling with that idea. I'm like, maybe we don't go back with the clothing brand. Maybe I just let that die. I'm just trying to, maybe it's just an emotional attachment that I can't let go of.
What wasn't that? You just knew you just wanted to do something on your own?
Always had that, but definitely knew that. And fast forward, man, how this risk that we took, a tattoo shop posted, a social media posted, they were looking for a website in exchange for a tattoo. And I reached out to him, and he's like, all right, come on. And I told Jen, I'm like, look, if I get this website, that's a portfolio. We got a business in our portfolio. So I went and got a tattoo, built him a website in exchange. And then the first customer was referred from them. The guy had just gotten back from vacation in Peru doing a tour. Okay. And long story short, the guy saw their website and was like, hey, who does that? They put him on the phone with me, and he's like, I really need a website and somebody to post to my social media. And man, I kid you not, Mike, I said, all right, $100 a month.
$100 a month?
$100 a month.
Now, guys, what he's charging me now, it's not $100 a month, so I wish I was his first customer.
Hey, man, it was not the quality of work, bro. Let me tell you what. Like, we did not know what we were doing.
$100 a month.
We did not know what we were doing. There were no marketing companies. This was like a fresh concept.
What year was it?
This was in 2017. 2016, 2017. So there was not a digital marketing structure yet. You know what I mean? There wasn't companies that were really offering social media advertising and stuff like that. The first thing that started to come in is creating posts for companies. Okay. Right? Okay. Now there were obviously previously web design companies and stuff like that, but it wasn't that time yet where it was like critical. The businesses were just getting, tapped in with it. Long story short, man, I said, look, we'll do your post, occasional, I forget, it was 1 or 2 posts per week or whatever, and I'll do it for $100 a month. And he said, all right, I'll sign up. And I called Jenna and I go, hey, I got our first client. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah, go ahead and turn in your notice. And she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, turn in your notice and I'm going to turn in my notice. She's like, how much are they paying? I said, $100 a month. She goes, Ryan, Like, that is nothing. That is shit. And I'm like, yeah, but if we can make 100, we can make 1 million. And lo and behold, man, she came home that day. She turned in her notice. She came home that day. I put in my 2 week with the government contracting company, cashed out my little 401k, and we bought a Ty Lopez course.
Is that Ty Lopez still selling
courses in the garage? Yeah.
Lopez was the OG on online marketing.
Yeah, dude. He used to the famous. I'm in the garage. Yeah, I'm in the garage with my Lambo, and you know what's better than a Lambo? Books. And I used the money, which, dude, at this when I tell you the 401k was little, it was small, man. And we took that money, majority of that money, and we bought this course for $1,000, which was so much money to us. Now, mind you, at the same time we took this risk, power got cut off, car repossessed. Like, we are at the bottom. We are at the bottom, man. We were like $20 to live off of. We were at the rock bottom, man. Like, we had nothing secure at all. And we bought that course, man, and we dived in. So each night we would sit there and we would watch the course. We would watch a whole section of it, and then we would take the note, and then we would start taking action. So then we're like, okay, well, let's go for a job and get X amount. And we just gradually started doing that. And then once we got our first few clients, they started referring. And it took us about, I think, six or 8 months. And we were taking care of our bills, our obligations, and then that's when we really started to because our first goal going back, our goal wasn't to build some massive company. We were sold on this Ty Lopez thing. You can make $5,000, $10,000 a month working from home. And we were just like, that would be a dream. Like, if we can make that working from home, And then, yeah, man, that's like fast forward about a year, we started to have like a concept, I guess. And then the digital marketing boom kind of started to happen. And then we started learning the services and what we could do. Like, okay, well, we can post daily. Okay, we can manage a website. We actually know how to do SEO now. So initially in the beginning,
real quick from that Ty Lopez.
The Ty Lopez, to this day, her and I will give all credit. That course changed our life.
Okay.
And it exposed to us that it was possible, but then what we started to do is to build one source, right? Because we started off with just a social media emphasis and like little Wix websites. It started to expose us to all of the channels that we could start doing. So then that's when we started to build on our layers. So we were like, okay, we'll do social media, and now we'll build you an advanced website, and we can print your business cards. And then, okay, now we can set up the Google listings. Yeah, and then about a year later, man, we started to take it serious, where we were like, all right, we have an opportunity not to work from home, but to build a company here.
Yeah.
And and that was,
that's a huge risk.
5-6 years ago.
That's the risk that all of our listeners right now, that's the risk they're looking to take. You're talking about, and guys, I'll tell you this, I've heard it, and for me, I've never had this issue, because when I first got started as an entrepreneur in 2016, I made decent money, but it wasn't like was making, $200,000, $150,000, $200,000. I made decent money. I was a sales agent, and I did not have a high paying job that gave me benefits, etc. I just worked, and I was just a sales agent on the phone. It was a straight commission.
Yeah.
And so, I talk to guys now that they're looking to make that transition, but it's just like they just make too much money to start from the bottom, and it's hard. And you've heard him say what he had to do to be able to open up that business. You're talking about lights getting turned off, cars getting repossessed. Yeah. I've had my car repossessed a couple of times, but not because of entrepreneurship. Yeah. And so if you think about, you're putting yourself through that, you have a choice. Yeah. You could have said, I'm gonna hang it all up.
Yeah. Many times.
And so that's huge. I think that's very huge.
And the risks never stop. So I always tell people, I'm like, look, the risks never end. That first risk is making the transition. Yep. So it's leaving the comfy job or the comfy position. Like if you can't make that first jump, because that's honestly the easiest one.
You're just building up your risk tolerance at this point right now. That first jump. Yeah.
The first jump's the hardest, but it's also, in some sense, the easiest. When you get into like running and building a company and trying to scale it, the risks that are involved in. So I always tell people, I'm like, that first risk is the hardest, but it's also the easiest at the same time. So you need to go ahead and embrace that one so you can build up that tolerance, because it never ends.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1 jump. And I'm an all or nothing type guy, so I wasn't like,
he burnt the bridge.
Well, let me go part-time and then I'll build.
You burnt the bridge.
No, I've always been like that. You burnt
the bridge, you burnt the boat, and I do the same thing.
Throw my back against the wall, man. That's my thing,
So let's talk about the biggest challenges. Like let's just say, let's talk about the most substantial obstacles that you faced in business.
There's so many. I would say the biggest challenge that I've had, and I'm still having, like obviously too, going through the restructure, is transitioning from working in the business to own the business. To us, that's probably been the biggest challenge, because that goes into team building, hiring the right people, learning how to hire the right people, and going through all of those ups and downs. We've gone through that many times. And then I find myself still, after all these years, almost back to ground zero. Like, we have a great team, obviously, but now we're back in the business in a sense, restructuring things. So now it's like, all right, how do we structure it right this time to where we can train the right people the right way to where we can get back out?
I can bet you guys. I bet you guys this time around you'll do it a lot faster. Now this time around,
man,
because you know what you're looking for.
I've never been so confident in where we're at and what we're building right now. But it's taken a lot of ups and downs and lessons. But that to me has been one of the biggest challenges, is just trying to make that transition, because you go through that whole mentality of like, nobody can do it as good as I do it, so I'm going to hold on to this.
But my wife is listening, but I know she is. That's her mentality.
It's hard, right? And then when you begin to transition out of that, you have to trust, right? And then you have to expect that they're going to make mistakes, and be willing to go through that. Has definitely probably been the most challenging thing, I would say personally, that we've gone through, is really just being able to focus on the right parts of the business. Because that backside, like you were talking about, the KPIs and the numbers, like that's probably the one thing I wish I would have done sooner, is been more conscious of that and ran the business that way instead of emotion. But in order to get to that point, you got to get out of the business. And that's where I've had the biggest challenge.
You know what? I'm just trying to, it's a little bit about what you said for me. Which is going back to, just being able to remove yourself and work on the business, because that's something that I did have to learn. But for me, I naturally, what came easy for me was sales, leadership, coming from a sports background. You learn a lot of these skills. What was hard for me was the KPIs, getting organized, the systems, the processes, the procedures. And, for a long time, I operated based off of, the wave of the room, I used to call it. I would come in, I would ask the reps, saying, how we doing? Everyone would tell us, yeah, we're doing good. And I'm like, the energy's good. Yeah. And that's what I was about. But then you go back and like, man, why am I just not keeping the money in? I know we did $5,000 in revenue.
Where's it at?
Today. Where is it at? And it was because, again, not just managing the money and getting a bookkeeper. That was a part of it. But really just starting to look at it from a very strategic numbers perspective.
Yeah.
Even wondering, okay, this sales agent is my good sales agent. He's my best sales agent. No, he's not. He's the most loudest when he gets the deal. There's someone in the room who you don't really know it because they don't have huge monster days. They're just consistent.
Yeah.
They're quiet. And it will only show in the numbers.
Yep.
They make the most calls, but they don't talk the most. You don't hear them talking the most. Why? They're a little bit quiet. And again, those numbers start to allow me to be able to scale the business, not just the KPIs, but then also systems and processes, and putting down, if we're successful doing it this type of way, putting it on paper and making sure the whole staff follows it.
Yeah.
It's hard, when we're trying to figure out, okay, what's going wrong? And I used to do a lot of call reviews coming from a sales background. But doing the call reviews, everyone's pitching everything different.
Yeah.
And it's hard to pinpoint, okay, where are we messing up at? Where are we losing the sale at? until, again, eventually, I had to develop, okay, what works for me and made us successful before these guys got here is going to be put on paper, and all you guys have to follow it. Now, until we feel comfortable that you can do your own thing, everyone follows it. Until this day now, our agents on the phone, they have personalities. So, they put their own special sauce onto it, but it's still along the same flow and structure and questions that are asked, because that has proven success. And putting it on paper for me has totally just leveled up our game. That's been one of the decisions that we had to make that has been truly a game changer for us. Again, just getting systems and processes.
So important. How long did it take you to realize that? Because I know for us, it took probably 4, maybe even 5 years.
Man, I'm glad you said that first. I was going to say the same thing.
No, it's,
like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And I only realized it because that's when a lot of the YouTube content was coming out. So I was watching a lot of Patrick Bet-David.
Yeah.
And I hired a mentor. And that was the first thing he was telling me, SOPs. And I'm like, what is SOPs?
What is SOP?
I'm jogging my brain so much about it, because I'm like, what am I going to put on paper? And it's as simple as just saying, hey, if there's a disciplinary procedure, first one is going to be a verbal warning. Second one is going to be a written warning. Third one is going to be a suspension or a termination. Yep. Simple versus, people are doing certain things. You keep telling them or getting mad about it, and it's like you're meeting with them. Eventually, no, you got to have a process for that.
Yeah.
Even now, you're thinking about when you get your business big enough where you actually have agents. We're having the point now where all our agents are now trying to schedule their time off, and they're trying to schedule it during, each other's time off. So we have a rule, again, systems and processes and procedures. Yeah. We have a rule that the departments cannot schedule time off if they're in the same department. Why? Because we're a small business, and we ran into situations before where we didn't have these policies and procedures in play, and we gave both of them the time off, and we're like, man, why are we so backed up? Well, because you got 2 people in admin, they're on their holiday. Yep. They're on a little Christmas break or a little vacation.
Yep.
And so that has been truly a game changer, especially for me, someone who works a lot off of energy and emotion. I could just go, and I'll make it happen. But the structure is needed, and the consistency is needed. The predictability is needed, in the business. And so that was a huge decision for me.
I would say if there was one thing that I wish, it's not even the failures, the risk, the team transition, none of that. There was one thing that I wish we would have understood and known more earlier on, it would be that. The importance of the systems and processes and measuring.
Okay.
We've just now been in that journey the past year.
I think you're reading a little bit of my notes here.
Am I reading your notes?
Yeah, he's getting into it. But you hear what he just said, though. One of the most important things, you're talking about systems and processes. You hear a lot of people talk about SOPs, system and processes.
Don't wait.
And procedures.
Don't wait.
I'll tell you real quick, this is a little gem for them. I think it may help a lot of people. For me, I when you're in school, they always tell you not to copy the other students in the room, not to copy their tests. But the thing is, you learn that, and when you get out in the real world, especially in your business, you're like, you're thinking you can't copy, and that's the biggest thing. You need to copy. You need to do, and people that are successful, you need to duplicate what they've done, follow the blueprint. And so they had, I typed in on Google because I was trying to find SOPs. I just said SOPs, and there was a software called Business in a Box.
Oh, yeah, where it gives you the forms and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude.
Business in a Box, right? Yeah. And I was just looking. You don't need to just sit down and you think you got to develop it on your own. Business in a Box, I don't know how much it was, but it's very cost effective.
Very cheap. Yeah.
Very cheap. And it will give you all of the systems and processes, even things that you may not be thinking about. Yep. Some of them you may not need. You may not be out there in your business, but a lot of it is good stuff. And I took that and I just changed it to what made sense for our company.
Yeah.
And then again, I just started to tweak it as you run your business more. You'll start to see, okay, this happened. Okay, if I do it this way and my team does it this way consistently, that shouldn't happen again. That's a process.
Yep.
And again, we just started putting on paper. We have manuals. Let me real quick, guys. Hold on.
Go get it.
Hold on real quick. Hold on real quick. So guys, I need to bring you this. So when we talk about systems and processes, this is, one of we call it our training manuals. This is basically how our freight brokers on the carrier side, this is like their Bible. This is how they move loads. And literally it goes, let me see, I think this is, This is 57 pages. This is a 57-page manual on how to be able to effectively do this job. And literally, this right here alone will allow you to have, half your day back, because you're busy training people and they need to sit with you one-on-one when, again, you give them some verbal training, but you give them the guide, processes and the workflow to be able to complete stuff. This is what it took me 4 to 5 years before I started to get real good at this.
Yeah.
Now this is my forte. I can come in any business now and I'll look and I say, okay, let me spend a day or two. If it's very complicated business, let me spend a week.
Yeah.
And just constantly follow what these guys do, and then we can eventually put it on paper and be able to duplicate it. Because this process right here was duplicated because me and my wife put in the work first. We figured out what worked. Now this is what our whole company does, and this is why we are here today.
Yeah.
So, systems and processes, guys. If you guys want to get this too, just drop the link below. This is, again, you need this. This is how to move some freight, baby. So I'm set this thing.
Yeah, that's gold, man.
Yeah,
like I said, if there was one thing I wish I would have done and understood sooner, it would have been that. Because it's a lot easier to do it in the beginning if you only have 2 or 3 people than going when you have 10 people and then trying to implement that.
And you got to have everyone be on the same wave.
And to be honest, that's probably the fault for a lot of the issues we went through with our team, because we have people that were kind of in the growing stage with us without those systems and processes, and then we're trying to implement those, right? And it's like you're trying to, what do they say? Teaching a old dog. Yeah, and
so
it's
you're trying to basically what are we looking for? You're trying to shake some bad habits, essentially.
Yeah, and rewire everything. And that's hard sometimes when you to get everybody on board and on the same page. So if you just knock that out from the beginning, which, going back again, this transition, right? I'm not hiring anybody else until all of our systems and processes are complete. That way we can train properly the ways of how we want to run and hire the right people for it. And that's the only way they know. But it took us having to go through all of that, where now I look back and I'm like, dang, if I would have had this in place before I scaled my team, then I probably wouldn't have to go through what I'm going through the past, few months. And it's almost like back to the drawing board, which is crazy to do when the business is running and growing, because it's just double work.
But, I commend any entrepreneur, especially at the level when you're talking about doing something for 5 years. Being an entrepreneur, self-employed for 5 years, it's not a lot of people do that. At 5 years, that drop-off rate is crazy. 3 years, the drop-off rate.
3 years, right, is when most of it happens, yeah.
3 years, the drop-off rate is crazy. But I want to ask you, how did you handle, during that time, you could say now you wish you knew what you knew, but you didn't. Mm-hmm. And so when you were going through it, how did you handle the adversity? What strategies or mindsets that you, I guess, helped you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, I think, and it was probably, it's a strength, but also a weakness. It's like you said earlier, I think you said it, you were like, you just go and do, right? And so, that's my personality, which is a great trait, but I think there's also some negative to it, because you end up being blind to because for me, it's like, it's easy. We just go, we just do it. And not everybody can operate that way, especially when you're building a team in different positions. Me, man, that's my personality. And then I love to, that adversity puts my back against the wall, which is my strategy. It's probably, I don't know if it's a healthy strategy. I don't believe in a plan B. I tattooed my neck and my hand so I can't get a job, because I don't ever want to have to fall back on that, because people are like, well, you can always fall back on a job. So I try to do things that make sure that there's no other option, right? Yeah. There is no plan B. There's no plan B for me, right? There's no other option. Like, this is either going to work or it's going to work, right? Because if it all crashes and sinks, we'll just pick it right back up and build it. It's just, but I also think, this kind of in another opinion of mine, I think that's why it's important. We talk about people who want to start a business. I think in a sense, you've got to have that in you. Where I see a lot of people that are like, I love to build a website. That's my passion, right? That just gives me all my passion. I'm going to go start a business doing websites. I don't think that that's the right way. And I think that's why a lot of people struggle. Is I think your passion needs to be, you want to be a business owner. You want to be an entrepreneur, because you're going to have to have
a little side hustle then.
Yeah, or you just side hustle.
You have a side hustle and enjoy
that's
your
what I
passion,
say. I'm like, if you're doing something, that you love, and it's a job skill set, just work for a great company that'll give you the tools and the ability to grow within that, and then do it on the side and make you some extra income. But to go and start a business
and bring people on, bring people on, and I take pride when I see someone come in and I hand them that paycheck. It's digital, so they get Zelle or Wire now.
Yeah.
But when you hand them that paycheck, it's like that's going for them to feed their family,
taking care of them,
take care of their life, the lights, the clothes, the food. You have to be prepared. It's bigger than you saying, "Hey, I just love, trucks.
Yeah.
I just love finances." It's bigger than that.
Yeah,
it's a big responsibility, because once that love wears off and you're tired, what else is going to keep you going?
Exactly. And so I think dealing with adversity and keeps me going, or keeps any entrepreneur going through that stuff, is just
gotta be wired different, huh?
The passion of entrepreneurship. There's just, in some sense, I believe that anybody who's an entrepreneur is a little crazy.
Yep.
You have to be.
You gotta be wired different.
You have to be, because there's something about those obstacles, adversities, failures, those, the processing got locked up. There's something inside of you that enjoys it, right? Because it's like, oh yeah, I'm back against the wall now. I got to figure this out, and it's crazy. But, I do think that that's important, because you have to have that wired in you to be able to push through the things that running a business or growing a business or entrepreneurship is going to require of you. Because again, I always say it, nobody gets around that process. Yep. I think I shared this before, but like one of the most recent stories that I just love, man, is Elon Musk. I just finished his biography. And man, we see Elon as the billionaire with SpaceX and Tesla. And dude, when you get into like the beginning of Tesla, man, his wife was waking up in the middle of the night with him over her having panic attacks because they weren't going to make payroll on Monday. They had no money in the bank, about to lose everything consistently on a regular basis. But he was able to push through that. But you look at that and you're like, okay, that's a crazy person, bro. Like to deal with that and just be like, you know what? I could just shut this thing down. Like me, right?
Go back. I'm out of here.
I've learned a lot of skill sets in our industry. I could pretty much do it all. I can, we can film content. We could, build what I could go just be like, we're done. Let me just go get me a good cush job and do some stuff. But you don't. There's something in you that like, nah, that's not enough, man. I'm trying to build something. And then the reward is taking care of people and taking care. The way we look at it is like, when you look at the impact of your work, like even you, right? It doesn't stop at these guys. It stops at the wholesale company person who successfully was able to get that load out for that business, which is taking care of their family, and that truck driver, it's getting him work. And then that goes to his family. And it's like the impact and the downfall of that being made because there's a business up here. That's the reward.
So you're saying that it ain't nothing you can teach. This something it got to be in you.
I think
that's
it apart.
What you're saying.
I really believe that. I really do.
It got to be in you, not on you. That's what he's basically telling you.
In a sense, yeah. I think that to make the risk to take to be an entrepreneur, that needs to be your passion, is running and building a business. That needs to be that little bone in you that's like, I want to, because all the other reasons that you hear, I want to be my own boss. I think that's fluff. Because the way I look at it is, I'm not my own boss. You're my boss. And so is every one of my other clients. And so is my team. Like, because at the end of the day, I have multiple bosses now.
Answer to someone.
Yeah. So it's like this whole concept of like, you're just not going to have to answer to anybody. If you look at you, for example, I hear, but you got to answer if something happens to any of these loads. You've got to answer to all of your customers. You're responsible for all of this, making sure that it's moving. You're responsible for your team. You're responsible for your team's family. You're responsible for your family. You're responsible for all of these different people. So you essentially have all of these bosses. And then any type of concept of, well, I don't have to work a lot. It's like, no, you're working way more than 40 hours because this stuff doesn't turn off. Yeah. You're always thinking about work. You're always carrying pressure that people don't see behind the smile. There's always something going on. Or you're thinking about the next move. So it's like you're working more. You're working for more people. You're taking on more stress. You're taking on way higher risk. that to me only comes with something being inside of you that drives you for that.
I was thinking, like, for me, I guess what keeps me going, one is what you just said. Like, I it's hard for me to even think about, like, the negatives. Like, I know it when it's happening, but after it happens, I'm done with it. Yeah, I'm done, and I'm on to the next. And that's been, I guess, like you said, it has to be in you. That spirit for me is I just want to keep going. I always want to reach, I guess, the top and see the best I can do. Yep. And so I know I'm not capable for more. So when something happens, I'm like, okay, let's get it in and get it done and get it in and get it out. I'm a problem solver. That's always been, my forte. And so a little bit of what you just said, like, it's just naturally in me. What made me start as an entrepreneur was the fact is that I like to control, I like to control. And even if I was making less money, I can control it. I can build it. This is my thing. And I love hiring. I love coming in. I love leading the team. All of that, it's you have to want to do it. I don't love being a freight broker. I don't love houses. Yeah. No. I don't believe in owning houses. I rent a home. So I don't love houses that much. The thing is I just believe in my ability to be an entrepreneur, create a product or a service for someone to be able to benefit from and bring a team together to be able to have that team benefit from it too. Now that right there, that gets me fired up.
It does.
You're talking about next innovative campaigns. You're talking about leadership development. Yeah. I love watching when some of my guys, like we went to the Amway, now it's the Kia Center. And I love my Magic. My Magic right now is tied 2-2 in the playoffs. We're in Cleveland tonight. We're going to get that W, and we coming home in Orlando to close it out this Friday, which I will be in the building. And so I usually do a founder suite, which we will, kind of cater a suite, have some food in there for them, some drinks and et cetera. And I usually do for investors, but I did it for the team this time. And I love just looking at the team's face, being able to say, hey, some of these guys have never stepped foot in this arena. Yeah. Some of these guys have never had this type of founder suite, this type of luxury. And that's my passion. I love to provide. I love, I really look at it, coming from even a biblical standpoint, right? You talk about Michael. Michael, is the archangel. He stands in the front line, and he's the protector. He's the leader. And that's what I feel like. I'm willing to sit back, and how you show that picture of, like, the guy in front of, whether it's the daughter or the mom or the family or the business, and he's standing in front of him, but he turns his back and there's arrows and knives and everything in his back. And that's the epitome of me. I would go ahead and I'll try everything out, and I'll say, okay, good. That's hot. Don't touch that. Oh, that's good. That water's good. And I want to bring, everyone in and have an opportunity. And I love being able to create. And I guess that has what always helped me out when you're talking about getting through it. It's just like, hey, if I don't, then I don't continue to be able to do this. Yeah. And it's like, so I have to do it. Yep. And in my mind, I play myself so much. One of my biggest skill sets, I told you guys this before, Gallup Strengths. If you have not done it, check it out. My biggest skill set is called futuristic. And I would be 90% sure that your top 10 strength is futuristic. And what that ability is I can see, and I can clearly see it. Like, if I'm envisioning me tasting this food in the future, I can taste it.
You can taste it, yeah.
And that's, what I do best. I can see and envision where I want to be at. And like you said, to a certain extent, it's a fault. I have blinders on, and so it's hard for me to the processes and the procedures and all that. That's the right now. That's not the future. Yeah. And that's hard for me to slow it down and just think about that. But while it's happening, it's happening, and you may be upset. It may be tough that you're going through that situation, but once it's done, I'm like, cool, on to the next. What's next? And that's normally, my wife always tells me, she's like, you're never satisfied. And it's like, I just want to see what the most is out there. Like, if I reach a new level, I want to reach another level and another level and another level. And, even the cars, like, I'm not a car guy. I got a BMW X6 competition. Nice car, real nice car, $120,000 car. Got that last year. I tasted it for a little while, and I'm like, okay, what's next?
What's next? Yeah. That's those traits, though. That's why I think, again, you have to have that already kind of built inside of you, because it's that always grateful but never satisfied. Yep. But then that controlling, that's a lot of pressure. Yep. Right? And then what do we say all business is on? Problem solving. So if your job is to problem solve, then majority of your surrounding is going to be what? problems.
Yep.
So in order to surround yourself with problems while carrying pressure to take care of all of your people, while never being satisfied, right? Yep. Knowing there's really no end goal because you just want to go as far as you can. That's the trait of an entrepreneur, and you have to be built with that crazy inside. It's like a little screw loose. Because at the end of the day, there is no end goal really. It's like if somebody asks me, it's like I just want to go as big as it can go until I pass away.
You know what? Someone asked me, and they always ask you, what is the goal? What is the end goal? Like you said. And I can tell you what the goal is right now.
Right now, yeah.
But once I hit that goal, that doesn't mean it's ending.
It change, dude.
When are you looking to retire? I want to be like Warren Buffett. I want to be in my rocking chair, still making decisions, still moving and grooving. But guys, I hope you're getting I hope you're getting value in this. Like literally, this is the stuff that you don't hear talked about a lot when you're talking about entrepreneurs or entrepreneurship. You hear a lot about the trips and the material things and the status and the money, but these are all the mental decisions and the emotional decisions and the work and the strategy that you have to put behind it, which is not fun. It's kind of like when you talk about lifting weights. For me, I don't love lifting weights. There's some guys out there that love it. I don't. Yeah. And so, but you have to do it. You have to get in there. You have to be active. You have to do something to keep your body in shape. And it's the same thing in business. You know what you want. You want to look good. That's that lifting. You want to look good. You want to have that business that makes the money. But are you willing to say, hey, I got here at 6 a.m. and I'm leaving at 8? Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to be the last one out? Are you willing to say, hey, I'm cutting someone a check for $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 for this week? That's his biggest check. Celebrate him, and you walk home to your wife, and you ain't made not a damn dime.
Yeah, because everybody gets paid first. To make that, can we make that clear as a business owner too? Because
you got to pay your people.
Everybody gets paid first.
I say this one thing. I know we both learned that you got to make sure you get yourself paid.
You do. You do. You have to take care of yourself. But
you're going to keep funneling money to your employees, and they're going to get paid more than you initially. But one of the biggest lessons I learned too, make sure you pay yourself.
Yeah.
Even if it's a small something, because it just the mechanics of saying, hey, this is my business. I work and I do this. But again, I've given people $4,000 checks before and walked home with nada for that week.
Been there, done that.
And I was okay with it. While my partner was in my ear, asked me, where's our money at? He just took it.
They got it, yeah.
He earned it and he made it, and we had to pay for everything else. Yeah. But I want to talk about some key strategies for success.
Yep.
We talked about the adversity a little bit. Now I want to know some strategies for success. Can you give me maybe some effective tools or strategies that helped you, sustain, a level of growth in your business?
Honestly, man, for me personally, and I'm interested to hear yours, my number one thing that I would say would be a strategy is to always try to focus on education, meaning no matter how far I consume the business books still, I consume the self-growth books still, I still study the businesses. I never have been complacent in my knowledge because I'm always thinking about and learning from others. So for me, it's like never feel like I've mastered it. Always continue educating myself. And I do think that's a strategy because knowledge is power, right? Mm-hmm. And in order to get to certain levels, you got to understand things. You got to have that knowledge. And so for me, it's like I'm still a student at all times.
Give me your top three books.
Top three books right now? Yeah. One of the best books in business that I've read for a business owner. I was
gonna say towards business.
Yeah, Buy Back Your Time.
Okay.
Is critical.
He gave Buy Back Your Time to one of my partners and my partner in my rental car company, Ron. And Ron right now is dancing because of that.
It's just a phenomenal book. Profit First was another one that just sticks out.
Buy Back Your Time.
Profit First. Yeah. Okay. That one really impacted us and has directed a lot of even where we're moving to now. So that's definitely, I would say, the top two right now. And then the other one right now actually is, what is the name? Unconventional. I think this is great, especially, servicing Unreasonable Hospitality. Excuse me. Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara.
Okay.
So this is one that I'm like 33 minutes from wrapping it up, but this is the one I've been listening to right now. These are all right now books. The Profit First has listened to that one twice, and then Buy Back Your Time I listened to 2 times. I think those 3 books. So the that one focuses on customer service.
Okay.
Right, and it's just how to unreasonable hospitality. Right, how to really stand out when offering a service to make sure that customers have the best experience. So that one I'm pulling a lot from right now. Profit First is really about the finances of a business and strategies on how to not wait to take profit, but to begin taking your profit from the beginning. And so he takes a lot of strategies about, even if it's just a little bit. But one thing that changed, and I think this is a little nugget, so I'll give it. But like, for an example, for the longest time, we had a business checking and a business savings. We don't operate that way anymore. We have a main account, a bill account, a product account, a payroll account, a profit account, and a tax account. And so as money flows in through one, we distribute that money. Yep. So say, for example, at our spa, right, the money comes in and it's like, okay, this percentage goes towards a product for products that we want to order. This one is like an investment account. So we want to build out a room. This one's our payroll. This one's our bills. And this one's our profit. And so it teaches you that. But that changed a lot for us in how we manage business finances because especially with like OneSource, we have so much reoccurring. It's very hard to manage out of one account. I mean, when because we just have so many different softwares and tools in this program and ad accounts and all of this. So to try to keep track of every day, there's money coming out. Google pulls this, Facebook pulls this and all that. And it's a lot to manage. So, but by streamlining the accounts, it makes it very manageable. And then 2, we make sure everything's covered, right? So if I payroll, for example, payroll's got its own account. I don't ever have to worry about payroll being tampered with or having to move from here to there. It's in there. And so anyway, that's kind of the premises for Profit First. And it teaches you how to, but again, that profit account is there. So every time money comes in, money's going to that profit account. So we're pulling profit from the beginning. Now, what we choose to do with that profit, we may reinvest it or we may distribute it at the end, but there's profit coming from everything that comes in.
I like that. You guys got that too. 3. Can you name those 3 books?
Yep. So it's Unreasonable Hospitality, Buy Back Your Time, and Profit First.
Profit First. Okay. And I had to learn that too before. I had all my money going into one.
That gets messy.
Yeah. Now I think I have an operations account, payroll, manager's reserve.
Yep.
And then we have a tax account. And then I used to, we were a small business starting out. I used to mingle the money.
Oh, yeah.
We pay ourselves one check for the whole entire month's bills. And doing this too, guys, you have to be very, very disciplined at that too.
Yes.
Got to be very disciplined at that, but that's a good little gem.
The final nail for that gem is if you can get the systems and processes and the finances from the beginning, you will save yourself a lot 100%. Of headache. And I think, again, if there was one thing that we could redo, because now we're, 6 years or 7 years into this business. And a lot of these, and being transparent here, a lot of this stuff is stuff that we've learned over the past year and that we're implementing even still to this day, trying to fine tune this stuff to make sure that we get it. And it's like, it's a lot harder when you're trying to fix the finances and fix the SOPs and the processes and systems of a business that's 6 years in and at a certain level, opposed to, man, if we would have been educated on this in the beginning.
And even if you don't have all those moving pieces, like I said, it's the mechanics and getting your mind in a routine to do this, because it's going to be harder for you to do it when you've been in business 2 and 3 years. Now you got to switch it up all of a sudden because you're having something drastic happen. But for me, and I had some little notes here. For me, it's going to be, and again, we're talking about key strategies for success. I'm not even going to piggyback off of what he already said, because that's 100%, the facts, specifically dealing even with the payroll, profits?
Profit first.
Profits first.
Yeah.
I had to learn that the hard way when you're talking about divvying up the accounts, and basically you're telling your money where it's supposed to go versus the money telling you where it's supposed to go. But for me, number one was going to be, it's a mixture of like people / like leadership development. That was one of my keys to success, is because, I've always been able to do it on my own, and even when I first started the business, it was me and my wife, and I would still have my own lead, so I would get on the phone and sell. But it was always fool's gold, because it's like, man, I can make this money by getting on the phone and selling. And the whole point of the business is so you can, you can have the money to, what is the money used for? In reality, you're looking to buy your time.
Yep.
Of course, you're going to buy the nice stuff, the nice material things, your trips and if you're in the cars or watches or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, when you add on to that and you're making more money, you're going to have less time to do that. And so eventually your goal's going to shift. And for me, bringing in quality people and developing leaders, has been very, really key to my success. Putting people in position, allowing me to go focus on maybe what I'm good at versus, again, I talk about it again, I'm not the best manager, because I work better on the business versus having to micromanage it and watch people and stand over them. That's not me. And so developing leaders has been really key. I used to have businesses, I'm going back to my financial coaching business, and I did everything myself, and I thought I was the greatest thing to slice bread. No one can do it better than me. And although that is probably 99% the truth, that they cannot do it better than you, you do not need them to do it better than you. Yeah. What if you can hire 3 people that all can do it about 70% better than you, right?
Yeah.
Well, now you still have over 100% where you're able to fully function. You're talking about 210% versus just your little 100%, right? Because you got 3 people that can do it better than you, or that can do it at 70%. And that was been the main thing, kind of replacing myself and understanding that, hey, the business will function still if I actually put people in play.
Yeah.
If I actually develop them the right way, if I actually bring in a company culture and structure the company the right way. And that really has scaled my business. I'm living and breathing it now. Again, I'm taking the blueprint that I've used from multiple businesses and we're doing it in the freight brokerage. I consulted for the supply chain industry for a while, but now we've opened up our own brokerage as of the last 3 years. And the same knowledge, the same skill set that's allowed me to be successful in flipping houses, wholesaling houses, the debt industry, the credit repair industry, now applies to the transportation industry. And again, I told you, an agent. I know he's going to be watching this. We're starting him off as an admin, but he's going to be our manager.
Yeah.
And that's going to be key to our explosion, One of the things I used to do a lot, I used to go on YouTube and I would type in whenever I was struggling in an area, because I would look myself in the mirror and analyze it quickly. That's one of the things, that always helped me out. Being able to look myself in the mirror and say, dude, you suck.
Being honest with yourself,
suck.
right?
Being honest. You suck. You're not good at this.
Yeah.
And so I can quickly look and say, okay, I need to learn how to develop leaders better. Why? Well, because the leaders that I had in my company at certain points just weren't cutting it. And I had to realize, okay, some of it's culture, some of it's the rules, or, the policies, procedures. But then I started to, I found Patrick Bet-David.
Yeah, he's a goat.
And I studied a lot of his content. And he had one of these videos that talked about strategizing as an entrepreneur. And he talks about like 4 quadrants. And the 4 quadrants, you have the 2 up top. One is going to be next innovative campaigns. You have the one on the right, which is the top right, which is going to be leadership development. On the bottom, you have operating systems, and bottom right, you have business development and sales. The business development and the sales side, especially sales, you would think like, man, developing the business and selling, getting new customers, that's going to explode the business. That's not. That just keeps you in business. That's what you're supposed to be doing. Actually, sales and developing your business, networking, getting new vendors, that's a part of the business.
Yeah.
What really explodes your business is going to be next innovative campaigns and leadership development.
Yeah.
And you're talking about exponential growth with the next innovative campaigns and leadership development versus linear growth.
Yeah.
You put a new operation, a new system in play, you bring in a new agent, you get a new sales process, but it's just going to keep you in business. Again, what really started to explode my business, obviously thinking big, I always used to think big in that next innovative campaign, which you're talking about, for us, we're going to start targeting different commodities, which is a next innovative campaign for us. We do a lot of mulch, soil, brick, block. We just signed on a huge fencing company and a huge trailer manufacturing company. But now we're going to target government contracts, produce. That's the next innovative campaign for us. That's going to help us explode. But also the leadership development.
Yeah.
Bringing in someone that can do it, and not just do it, but actually he does it better than you.
Yeah.
And, I was joking around when you say most of the guys, they're not going to be able to do it better than you. But that's why you have to find that one person. The leadership development, you're developing a lot of people in the office to be the best they can be, but all of them are not going to be leaders.
Yeah.
And so 99% of the time, they're not going to be better than you.
Yeah.
But there's that 1%, that one person out there that if you find them, that's your leader and you develop them the right way, you have nothing to worry about. Your company's in good hands. It actually makes more money when you're out of here. And our company has been making more money with the same customers over the last, month or so because we brought in this one individual. And still, the structure and everything needed comes from here. Me, the culture, the relationships, how to manage the payroll and all that comes from me. But his knowledge, just coming in and developing him and putting him in a position. He's 21 years old. But giving him the opportunity to lead this team and giving him the tools on what is needed, because he doesn't need the skill set. He already has the skill set. But what he does need is he does need to learn how to sit down someone and maybe terminate someone. Or one of the agents that we hired, we knew the guy wasn't going to make it, but we wanted to give him a chance. When we hired him, we could tell the first day, dang, sounded real good in the interview, but he's not going to make it. Wanted to give him a chance, and the guy ended up leaving during work and texting us saying he's not going to come back in. But how do you handle that process? How do you, as a manager, what do you do? Do you say, okay, bye? Well, no, you still got to pay him for the work that he did. We have a certain agreement in our office that you do, it's like an agent termination form, whether they voluntarily terminate themselves by quitting like he did, or they got fired. They have to sign that. So, for rules, laws, and regulations, and they're not coming back on us. We do like a little exit interview to figure out, hey, what were the good things about the company? What are the things that you feel like we can improve? And again, I train him on how to do that. That is a part of our culture. That is part of the leadership development that we need in this office. And it may be different in other people's offices. That's why you have to develop the leader according to what you know is successful, what you know works. And so that's been number one for me, leadership development. And I got a last thing, we talked a little bit about it, which is the SOPs. SOPs, the policies, the procedures, the operating, procedures. That has been killer for me because we've had success in a lot of different areas, but because we weren't tracking our numbers, or because we didn't have, we didn't follow a system and a workflow, we never knew how to duplicate it again. We were like, man, we had one good fire week, but now we're not. Why? Well, because that person was pitching it this way or coding it this way. Now we're doing this something totally different, and we can't figure out what's working and continuously duplicate success. So the SOPs as well has been something that's been major for me. So, guys, listen. I'm just telling you right now, it's about what we've been doing. It's about an hour and 30 minutes, maybe. We're an hour and 30 minutes right now. I mean, we can cut this thing off right now. And you guys should, if you listen to the rest of these episodes and the Risk Takers Only podcast plus today, listen, you're good to go. You should be mentally, physically ready to go, strong in the mind, ready to go, and understand that, hey, this is not going to be easy. But also, you got the tools on how to be successful. So I think, Ryan, man, we did a good job, man.
I appreciate you, man. I love the honest conversation there, and hopefully it does help everyone out there, man. We were honest and transparent. So
I got Ryan. I always do that to my guests. We not just going to end it there. We got a lot more to go. He thought we was going to end it. Everyone thought we was going to end it. I got him. I got him, too.
He got me.
I got him. Listen. Well, so I wanted to end it. I wanted to end it on this. I wanted to talk a little bit about, and this is the last thing. We're going to end it on here. I wanted to talk about the future of entrepreneurship. I wanted to talk about specifically in your industry trends. What do you predict? Just where the industry is going. Picture someone is watching this and they're saying, "Hey, I want to become somebody in the digital marketing space. I don't want to do everything. I may want to do pay-per-click. I may want to do the podcast. I don't know. I want to do everything. I want to be like OneSource. Where's the industry headed? What are the trends that you see that you could help these guys out be successful in?
I think our industry is, from what I believe, is probably about to be one of the largest transitions we've seen since the beginning of the internet. Obviously, I'm going to talk about AI. Right. So AI is just getting so much better. It is. It's getting so much better. But what's really, and this is a trend, and where it's headed is the AI is going to be able to, it's going to play such a pivotal role into not only many areas that businesses and people are going to be able to use it, but it's also going to play a big role into how we search and how we utilize the internet. So when you think of traditional search, you go into Google, you put something in, and then you scroll through and decide what it is that you want to read and research. I do see that will go away.
A lot of that with us, with TNT.
Yeah. So what's going to end up happening here is as they transition, what we look at as the internet search will be more of an AI. So we will ask AI what we want, and AI will produce the answer for us. So when it comes to that, it's extremely important, obviously, for businesses to maximize the internet right now, but also, I got to think of how not to go on a tangent here, but when you talk about SEO is going to change. It's very important right now. It's very relative right now for Google search, but we're beginning to get ahead of the curve and optimize websites for making sure that they populate on voice search, which voice is going to become a lot bigger than it is now with Siri and Alexa and all of that. That's going to become more prominent. So you want to make sure that as we're using voice technology, which is going to, again, become more popular, and as we're using, and Google transitions their traditional search to AI search, you want to make sure that you're optimizing your business to show up in a response from these AIs, because people aren't going to have the pages to scroll through to make their own determination. They're going to get 3 answers from AI. And if your business isn't one of those 3 answers, it's going to be very hard to be discovered. So that's some trends that we see also in that, the importance of the internet right now. And I'm not saying it because we're in the industry. I would say it if we weren't. It is more important to begin getting the businesses on the internet now than ever, because aside from the way that we're going to search the internet and we're going to interact with technology and the way technology is going to change, your consumer is going to be changing. Meaning, for an example, I have a 19-year-old son and a 15-year-old daughter. Well, they're only a few years away from being the consumer, the ones that buy the services, that buy the homes, that buy the cars, right? And you have to look at the way that these kids and their generation is searching things. They're not doing it the way that we do it, right? So again, all of that's going to transition as they are more, they're more likely going to go to social media than they are Google. TikTok's SEO outranked Google search. More people are searching for their information on TikTok and Instagram than they are Google. And that is going to continue to become more and more and more and more relevant and a higher volume, because that's just how they search. And then technology, again, with AI, there's a lot that's kind of unknown right now. We don't know how the augmented reality is going to play a role in things, how people are going to discover businesses. So I would say right now, the answer would be to really focus and educate yourself on the capabilities of AI and automations that can help businesses, and where these different things can take place. And then just paying attention to the social media stuff, because social media is about to go through a big transition. It's going to be wild times. I think the next 5 years, I think we're 6 years away from not having cell phones. So it's a bold prediction.
You may have to clip this right here.
And I want to clip it so that you can come back to this and see that I said it. But I do not believe we will be operating cell phones in the next 6 years. They're already working on the technology. It's already getting out there. We just have to pay attention to it. So a lot. I'm saying that I believe the biggest transition since the beginning of the internet is going to happen over the course of the next probably 3 to 6 years.
Okay. I'm going to piggyback off that too. You're saying a lot of the things. We share the same mindset in a lot of different areas, but the AI, specifically, so my realm is going to be the transportation logistics realm, specifically the freight brokerage. And I shared a video where the AI was taking a call, and normally, like I said, this training manual right here is for the brokers on the phone, but there was an AI bot, I guess, taking a call, talking to a motor carrier, and essentially what that AI bot does is eliminate these guys. There's no manual needed because the AI would take the calls.
Yep.
And I do see it heading in that direction for a lot of companies.
Yep.
How does it affect us? It is going to improve, for us in our industry, it's going to improve a lot, specifically, having the ability to have someone take calls.
Yep.
The ability to make check calls for us. You have to make a lot of check calls, essentially, when you get a driver on a contract and they are going to actually move the freight for you. You have someone checking on that driver, checking their location, and you're talking about being able to replace it with technology and does it in seconds for you, and being able to spit out data and send out automated emails. That's what's going to take over. So it's going to make us a lot more efficient now for our industry because, again, it's a relationship industry. you're still going to be needed. The brokers, we're going to be needed. We're always going to be needed.
Yep.
The reason why is because, again, you can have as many people that own trucks on the road, but I was just talking to someone about this. Those trucks are not a team.
Yeah.
They're not together.
Yep.
They have their own agenda. They have their own budget that they have to adhere to. Their truck is built different, meaning the wear or tear. If something happens to one of their trucks that's supposed to pick up a load, and let's just say they're not a big fleet owner or their other trucks are busy, that company's their own company. They're not about to bust their butt to make sure, okay, let me hurry up and call it from. No, not a lot of people are doing that. So the brokers are always going to be needed because the shippers, in a sense, that's what we're here for.
Yep.
We're here for when something goes wrong.
Yep.
And they say, oh, I got a truck covered it. But what if the truck breaks down? Now they have to get back on the phone and do work and find another carrier. Whereas as the broker, a truck breaks down, here's another truck right behind it.
Yep.
That's my job. And so you cannot replace, it's hard to replace that. It's hard to replace the relationships that are built, problem solving. Now, AI, is getting up there. You're talking about iRobot and being able to think and do everything just like a human can. But the relationships are going to be key in the industry, which is why the brokers will always have a job. And specifically in this market right now, it is a shipper's market. The shipper's naming the price. There's so many trucks in the industry coming from COVID that now the shipper just says, hey, I don't need to, give the best price for a good truck. Now, so many trucks to pick from. Okay, now who's going to pick up my load for the cheapest price?
Yep.
And where we're making that transition, we're slowly seeing the market make a transition to where shippers, you better get it in while you can now, because pretty soon the driver's going to have at it again. And the reason why is because, there's always a market correction in the industry. It's like ebbs and flows, it. And so what happens is, you have a lot of trucks. Well, guess what? The rates are going down. Because there's so much assets and inventory and equipment out there that whenever a shipper needs a truck, they're like, okay, cool, let me just look through there. Boom, the cheapest truck. Once that stops happening, meaning certain transportation companies, are sad to say it, but they're going to go out of business.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of looking for that. We're kind of looking for that correction where the smaller fleets go out of business. And this year and last year, we've noticed a lot of the bigger box brokerages going out of business. You're talking about Yellow. You're talking about pay cuts. Yellow went out of business. You're talking about a lot of pay cuts. A lot of these bigger transportation companies are going out of business. And I will tell you, 10% of the market probably, and don't quote me exactly on this, but about 10% of the market has probably 10 trucks or more.
Yeah.
You're talking about under that, 90% of the people have less than 10 trucks.
Yeah.
And so the service that we offer as a broker, we have access to unlimited trucks, which is why we're going to be needed. When the truck breaks down or the driver's late or the driver gets mad and cancels, they find a better load. The shipper, their job is not to hurry up and keep calling and fielding calls. That's what our job is.
Yeah.
And so where the market is headed right now, it's going to be headed towards a carrier's market, meaning the carrier is going to be able to dictate the price. The more the carriers come out the market, the more the carriers, their operations close down. Now it's not an abundance of trucks. There's only a few trucks. So now the shipper has to say, okay, these trucks are busy. They got other freight, so I got to pay a little bit more. And so that brings the market and the rates and everything back up a little bit,
Yeah.
Diesel prices, have been high for a while. And they're going to slowly start to go down as we start to get more government. And I'm telling you, like right now it's needed. And you're talking about giving more incentives and the rates dropping down. That's going to increase the market. For me, where I believe it's headed, as long as we keep pushing what we're doing now, which is entrepreneurship, people taking advantage and businesses coming up and growing, there's always going to be an opportunity for a freight broker. Yep. Why? Because, Ryan, you come out with some more products for the road spa. It needs to get to the road spa. It's got to get somewhere. It's got to get somewhere. You got to get it from somewhere. And how do you get it there? That's transportation logistics. So, guys, you're always going to have opportunity. Actually, this time is the time to get in right now. In my personal opinion, the reason why it is a shipper's market, the trucks are out there. So it's easier for you to build a carrier base and be able to service a shipper versus when you get in when it's a carrier's market. The carrier is going to be a little bit more, they're going to negotiate a little bit harder with you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Now, the customers, they're going to need you a lot more. But you asked me, I feel like it's always a great time to get in. But where it's headed, we're in $1 trillion industry and it's steadily growing. The more we flood the market with new businesses, new products, new services, our service is needed. Guys, I want to wrap it up. I'm looking at my phone because I want to make sure that we're on point and we give you guys all of, all the game, all the knowledge, what we really have. And I want to end with this. again, the podcast, we're focused on giving you guys the true realities of navigating your business, being an entrepreneur. I love what I do. I love what I do. We're in my office right now in Uptown Altamont. This is a Class B office space. To be able to do things like this, it costs money. And in order to be able to do things like this, I have to make the money. And I can easily go get a job to be able to afford stuff like this. But my passion is just leading people. Mm-hmm. What I'm doing right now is a passion. We've been here for about 2 hours.
Yeah.
And this is one of the longest podcasts that I've shot. Because again, it's a passion for me to be able to give knowledge out. You said it earlier. You said that I don't hold back.
Yeah, no gatekeeping.
And I hear this a lot, and people have always told me, dude, you can't say that. You got to hold back. You got to charge a little bit more. And it's hard for me because it's like, you ain't gonna knock me out of my position. I tell you that right now. You're not. I can give you all the game. I can give you this the blueprint. And deliver this to you with some Hershey's Kisses and a couple of $1,000 to get you started, and you will not, beat me because my passion is figuring it out. Yep. Right now, I'm going through a tough spot right now. When I say a tough spot, I'm learning something that's a little bit more challenging. I have different projects that I invest in, and a part of the projects, every now and then I go out and I raise capital, right? Mm-hmm. Raise capital from friends, family, people that know me, want to get on the projects, people that approach me. And, I sat down with an individual yesterday from Wall Street. Mind you, I'm not from Wall Street. I barely had a B average. I didn't even have a B average in high school, a college dropout. And so I'm sitting next to a guy at Wall Street, and he starts, long story short, he ate me up. He ate me up during the presentation, right? I'm good over the phone salesman. That's where I started. I'm a call center. I told you guys, if I was to tat something up on me for my businesses, it'd be call center baby, because that's how I got started on the phones. And so I could sell really good on the phones. It's a skill set to be able to give your emotions and feelings through the phone. But when you're in front of someone's face, they can clearly see that, he's pissed off. Yeah. You don't have to say anything, just the look. And so it's a different close. And so it's specifically raising capital with high net worth individuals. That's a new skill that I'm learning. And it's a challenge. And yesterday, I got eaten up. I got put in the blender.
Did you?
I'm reading right now. One of the books I'm reading right now is, I think it's Pitch Anything.
Okay.
By Oren Klaft. Oren, let me just check it out. I think it is. Pitch Anything by Oren Klaft. And he's talking about, just the pitch. And he talks a lot about framing. And my frame did not work yesterday. I got eaten up. But the thing is, though, is like I come back home, I talk to my wife about it, which again, when we talked about the downfalls and going through the struggles, that's another thing, just surrounding yourself with the right people. Whether you're married, if you're not married, you can find other entrepreneurs that are like-minded that can push you over the hump. And I just happened to come back in and I talked to my wife about it, and she said, yep, that's what you asked for, right? And it was just so funny how she said it. It was like, that's what you asked for. Yeah. And because I always ask, I'm like, okay, let me just get it in, get it out. Let me learn it. Let me get beat up. And I try to say, okay, let me just hurry up and learn this process. How many reps can I get getting beat up before I'm like, okay, this is what not to do. Yeah. And then I will be able to do it. And again, after I figure it out, then I got the systems, the processes and procedures to duplicate the success. And I'm going to continue to push and power drive through it. Yeah. But the thing, guys, again, I just want to let you know again, on this journey, again, it's a beautiful journey. Specifically your goal, because at the end of the day, we're here to make money. Yeah. We're not doing it for free. A lot of people, your whole goal, when we're all starting, we want that financial freedom. That's what we want. But I just want to let you guys know, don't stop. Don't quit. Don't quit. Do not stop. When it gets tough, that is it's like the rainbow. When it's raining and it's gloomy outside, and you're like, oh, shit, I don't want to go outside. Go outside. Go outside and dance in the rain. Because I guarantee you, once you guys keep pushing and you keep pushing and you keep pushing, right over the hump is that pot of gold. It's that pot of gold. And then again, you get that pot of gold and you're like, I got it. And it's going to rain again. And so you got to get equipped and you got to get your mind focused. If you're not wired like that, you're going to have a tough time. And I do believe you can learn it enough, wire yourself and be around the right people enough. I do believe that you can eventually get that skill set, because that is a true skill.
It is a skill, yeah.
A true skill. And again, I just want to let you guys know, keep pushing. We talked a little bit about the 7 sources of income. I've told you guys before, I was that guy. I thought, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I got the 5, 6, 7 sources. Oh, I'm closer to being that millionaire. And it's not that.
It's not.
It's sitting your ass down. It's like literally buckling in that straitjacket and saying, no matter what's going on, I cannot bust out this business. I'm going to just keep fighting and keep pushing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So awesome episode. Ryan, did you want to add anything for the viewers here, for the risk takers?
No, man, I think, we covered it, what you just said. It's all about pushing through, man. Who is it? I got to give the guy credit that said it, but I think it's Jay-Z, honestly. He said there's only one difference between people who succeed and people who don't. It's not their talent. It's not their background. It's not their income. It's simply the ability to not give up.
Yep.
That's the only thing that defines here and there. And I think that's that path in between, that storm. It's just the ability to just push through it, whatever the challenges are, whatever the adversity is, getting eaten up at a presentation or having to start over a team, whatever the case is, the ability to just push through that. That's the ultimate goal. That's the ultimate advice, is you just and do whatever it takes to build that courage. Listen to something that'll inspire you. Call people who inspire you, and so that you don't buckle under that and you don't give up. You got to just make sure that whatever it is that motivates you to not quit and push through it is key number one, because those times are going to come. I don't think they end, for the most part, as far as the obstacles. So just keep pushing through. And that's the key. Everything else I think we covered, man. Systems and processes, leadership and team development, and just learning from your own mistakes and being honest with yourself. I think that's probably something that I've learned too, that it took me a long time. It's just being able to be honest with yourself, what you're not good at. Find somebody who is, educate yourself. Always educate yourself, and that's really it, man. I think that's the keys.
Well, guys, if you have not already, please like, comment, subscribe to the Risk Takers Only podcast. We're going to be putting out content like this each and every day, each and every month. We got something good for you. Without further ado, guys, listen, you got the game, man. So I really don't know I don't know what to do.
That's it.